name is PBJ Fish, or at least that is my public moniker. I am a procurer of unantiquitable antiquities and an unpublished author of never-to-be-discovered counter-sensibilities, and many times paying a heavy price for being so. Like the time I was mistakenly overlooked in the selection process for the 1975 Endeavour High School AMCO Shield Rugby League team, who courageously faced, yet faltered, against the sporting elite of Fairfield Patrician Brothers. In my line of work, it is an understatement to say I've walked the track to hell and back, but let us embrace hyperbole, for it is as true as any hyperbole can be, and yet I've seen it all and written about it all. Here's a story. Picture a time before the consternation of an Australian republic, and in parallel, picture a time when the terms manifest destiny and terra nullius presented no reflection on injustice and shame and the preceding 65,000 years of history. This is a story of that time and must be taken in the context of that time. It is 1970, and beneath the blissful, shielded existence, the nation's dearly beloved monarch graced the antipodes to much fanfare and delight, all being part of the bicentenary celebrations around the travels of Lieutenant, then belatedly capped, James Cook, who once dropped in uninvited. Anyway, and to say anyway again, anyway, to garnish the bicentenary celebrations, the local council enlisted dutiful schoolchildren to line the streets waving Union Jacks as the royal motorcade passed by en route to Cornell on the shores of Botany Bay, and arranged for submitted artworks and dissertations of the children, if select, to be inserted into a commemorative booklet to mark the event. Yeah, I remember standing on the Kingsway carrying bar with my parents to catch a glimpse of blue blood, unable at that time to think more deeply than absorbing the spectacle, and yes, I do fondly remember the booklet. So, my amazement and delight could not be calibrated by any earthly measure when, in the unexpected events of recent times, fortune manifested itself by the clattering of water pipes down in the storyline-generated basement, and upon investigation, I came across an old knapsack, and rustling through it, along with other curios, there was the booklet. And I again held and viewed this treasure half a century after it was published. I embraced the booklet, bringing it firmly to my chest, as if it was a puppy who, sorrowfully, was born without a wet nose. I found a corner by myself, undisturbed, placed the booklet in my lap, and began my journey back in time. Of the contributed artworks and dissertations, I wondered whose name was I going to see and still recognize. I began flicking through the pages, but my excitement overwhelmed and laid threat to the desired outcome as I found myself flicking too quickly. In fact, so quickly I couldn't read a damn thing. It was a passing blur. Well, that could not be. So I shouted at myself, "Slow down, you excitable fool!" And I did. I don't need to be told twice. "Slow down, you excitable fool!" I shouted at myself again, even though just seconds earlier I had established I didn't need to be told twice. Well, I certainly don't need to be told 3 times. I flicked through the pages now, at the leisurely pace set by an in-vogue cafe serving just coffee at a blindingly accepted 300% markup, with the aura of being important, as if issuing food coupons to a starved and grateful crowd in 1933 at the height of the Depression. Anyway, the pages. I flicked through the pages one by one, and then this one page, page 43, this one drawing caught my eye. Oh my goodness. Which is what I say now, but not exactly what I said at the time, and irrespective of exclamation or carelessly issued unguarded profanities, you could have knocked me down with a proverbial feather. I stared at that drawing, digesting its form, relaying it from eyes to brain, and from that emotional soup creating the composite thoughts. It depicted a drag racer driven by a ghoul with a large elliptical head and dark, brooding, untrustworthy eyes. One hand on the squeeze horn, a surfboard on the roof, some unpaid advertisement for BHP, Firestone, Champion, and Jackson surfboards, and heading at speed to the Bicentenary, or the Bison Draggery as the sign depicts. Then the thunderbolt, a seismic thud, like Miss Wellington's 18-inch ruler embedding into 11-year-old Jeffrey Ralphie mate's freckled legs upon yet another classroom transgression. But yes, I digress, and with undue vibrance. Beneath the drawing was printed the artist's name, and I held the booklet. My eyes whirled. Yes, it was me. The drawing carried my name, PBJ Fish, carrying by North Primary School Class 6B. I used to think the B stood for best students, but later with disappointment learned it wasn't so. There was a Class 6A, so what? Never knew what the A stood for. Maybe arrogant or appalling. My memory began to reform like a jigsaw puzzle, piece by piece, working from the perimeter to the center. And I remember this drawing, I do, but it was in color, and here in the booklet it was reproduced in black and white. I thought such a shame, but anyways, there it is. Of all the names immortalized in type and unwittingly becoming published child authors and artists, I wondered, where were they now, these kids, these people? Had Providence granted them a full life? Did they marry or have children? And now grandchildren, and do they, if asked, remember that time? Remember the booklet and their contribution, its shape, its color, its title, its intention? But, dear audience, that is another story.